Good afternoon. I would like to have a moment to review the district budget with you. We're going to start by doing an item analysis of the areas that have changed over the past year. But before we do that, I think it's important that we take a look at information that comes out on the school CAR report, and that is how much money Northeastern Clinton is spending per pupil in general education and in special education. Right now, according to the CAR report, we are spending $6,672 in general education per pupil, and the similar district schools are spending $8,006, and all public schools in New York State on an average are spending $8,787. In special education, we are spending $15,279 per pupil, and similar school districts are spending $19,944, and all the schools in New York State on an average are spending around $19,320. Now, I start with this in order to explain to you one of the real concerns that we have, and that is our high level of identification with students with disabilities. This district has a classification rate of 18.32% according to the CAR report, and the public school district totals are an average of around 12.3%. The ideal is to be around 11%, and everything that we are doing this year is going to focus on trying to lower this identification rate. And now I'd like to review with you the actual budget that you received in the mail, and to highlight for you the different areas, why they have changed, and to explain our contract for excellence. The first area that there is a change on is the Board of Education. This has increased because for the first time we will be revising our policy manual that needs to be done every so many years, and it has not been done, I believe, since the early 1990s. And in addition to that, we need to purchase the most current law books for our district office as well as our board members. The other area that you see increasing is central administration. The reason central administration is increasing is because currently the district is undergoing a search for a new superintendent, and the salary range is between 110 to 140, and it has not yet been determined what that actual salary will be. Under business administration, we have looked at increasing the time of our current business manager, and we are also looking at as a possibility of phasing into a full-time business manager towards the end of next year. Currently, our business manager is in the district 2 days per month. In addition to that increase in the business administration is the informatics software. We have just currently been undergoing the comptroller's audit, and one of the recommendations is that we look at a different type of software so we can have better accountability. The software that we are looking at will enable us to do that. The auditing services, there's an increase there because we now have to have an internal auditor, and we will also have to hire an actuary. These are new guidelines that have come down from the comptroller's office that every school district needs to partake in. Then if you look at operation and maintenance, You will see that there's an increase in furniture. Also, we are looking at our maintenance man, Rudy Miller, retiring at the end of next year, and we've put a little extra money in there so that we can train someone to take over his position, bring them on site a little early towards the end of the year. Increase in electricity, increase in fuel, increase in the water and the sewer. And under central data processing, once again, you see that we have our informatics software. That is the program that we will be looking at bringing into the district office. Then if you look at teaching for regular school, you will see that there is an increase, and that has to do with driver education being reinstated, the RTI program, which is reading response to intervention, and also reduction in class size. I will talk about the contract for excellence because I think it's very important that everyone understands what it is and why we have one. Currently, there are about 54 schools in New York State that received a contract for excellence. Since we are a Cine 2 school, we were selected as one of the schools that received this contract. There are guidelines that must be adhered to with this contract. Part of the contract means that we get additional state aid. We have to take a look at what the foundation aid was in 2006-2007. We then take 3% of that amount, and then we add it back to that foundation aid, and that gives us the amount of state aid that we can use for this current year, which comes out to $9,020,188. Now, we would have to subtract this from the state aid that we received this year, which was $9,774,834, a foundation aid, excuse me. We're just talking about our foundation aid now. And that would leave us with a balance of $754,646. That is the new money that must be used for the contract for excellence. In addition to that, we can take 25% of that amount and we can use it to sustain programs, which comes out to $188,661. The remainder of that money, $565,985, has to be used for new programs. This is considered grant aid and is exempt from the contingency budget. It is also put in to allow school districts to begin or implement new programs that will help them to reduce their or address the difficulties that they have. We have looked at various things that we are doing in order to meet those needs for the contract for excellence. One is sustaining the programs, and that's where we would have to spend $188,661. Part of that will be our separate busing, our reinstating of driver's ed, our maintaining of the Lake Clear program, and the Model UN program. The new programs that have been put in place in order to meet the criteria of the $565,985 are the reduction in class size of 2 teachers, the RTI program, which includes 3 teachers plus training, the additional computer aid, the additional money in textbooks, also a new teaching assistant to help us develop a stronger special needs program in the middle school, and the additional special ed classroom and the teacher need that will be put into Rouse's Point in the fall. With all of these new programs, we have met the criteria for the contract for excellence. Now, if we look at the occupational education, we can see that there is a change there because there will be a different number of students attending this program, and basically all we can do is project the number of students we believe will attend. And then the school library audio visual, we have a reduction because our librarian of many years retired last year after the budget had been approved. And in guidance regular school, we also have a reduction because Mr. Patnode, who has been with us for many years as our middle school guidance director, will be retiring this year. The district transportation services, there is an increase due to the increasing cost of diesel fuel. Also adding on an additional 1 or 2 runs as needed for this coming year. And for the employee benefits, we always have to look at the increases in the teacher's retirement system, the employees' retirement system, and the health insurance. And as far as the revenues are concerned, we're looking at possibly a reduction in the number of Vermont students that we will have. And we have to look at Medicare reimbursement also, because there have been new guidelines that have come out with the stipulating that unless you have a licensed speech pathologist, you will not be able to claim any services, and also unless you have a licensed counselor, you will not be able to claim any services under the Medicare reimbursement. So looking at the school tax information, we are going from $22.11 down to $20.33. There is one thing that I would like to point out, that when we look at the percent increase in our year, it is 4.9%. However, if you take out the contract for excellence, which we are mandated to spend on new programs, you would then be looking at only approximately 1.8% of an increase if we did not spend that money on the new programs, if we didn't spend that $754,646. I think that pretty well sums up the actual budget itself. In addition to asking people to please go out and vote, and to point out that we do have 4 individuals who are running for 1 seat. Mr. Blaine, Mrs. Grovine, Mr. LaValle, and Mr. Letourneau are all running for Ms. Silva Mary Marnes' seat, and that we have 2 other resolutions. One is for the school buses and vans, 5 66 passenger buses at a maximum estimated cost of $86,000 each, for a maximum not to exceed $430,000, and 2 7 passenger vans at a maximum estimated cost of $23,000 each, for a maximum sum of $46,000. And we are looking at an increase in our libraries of about $300 for each library, which is one of these separate resolutions. And I do encourage all of you to go out and vote on May 15th. Thank you.
All right, this is a take now. The rehearsal is over.
Okay.
In 3 seconds. Calvin Castine at Northeastern Clinton Central School, and if you're watching this on Channel 24, you're in one of 4 school districts: Northeastern Clinton, Shazy Central, Northern Adirondack, or a few of our viewers from West Shazy are in the Beekmantown School District. And we're here talking about something that's important to everyone this time of the year, but our focus will be on the Northeastern School District, and that's the school budget. And we're planning on showing this on the 14th into the morning of the 15th of May. And 15th of May is voting day on the school budgets no matter where you are in New York State.
That's right, throughout New York State.
And sitting to my left and camera-wise probably to the right of me, as you're looking at us, is a fellow who probably started life being known as Robert Hebert. Is that what you were called?
Say so.
Robert Hebert, a local boy who came back and has been our school superintendent at Northeastern for, is this your 4th year, Bob?
4th year.
Yeah. Now, I know your parents lived about a mile and a half, 2 miles down the road from here, south of here. Is that where you grew up, or?
Yes, Mason Road.
On the Mason Road, just a short distance down
the road, right?
Just a hop, skip, and a couple of jumps, and you're right there. And I remember when I first heard of your brother George Hebert, and I said, "That's Frank Hebert's son." I scratched my head. When did you start becoming a Hebert as opposed to an Hebert, Bob?
I guess I was, when I left school here, pretty much. You know, once you get out of elementary, primary school, and although my daughters like the name Hebert, and they're picking that up.
And of course, Hebert is the French
Yeah.
pronunciation of Hebert, which is anglicized.
Yeah.
But it was just in that generation where this part of our North Country moved from the French-Canadian influence into the, and a lot of names became different. My buddy Dean Tremblay, his kids are Tremblays, and it's just part of what we're doing. This is your last year, though. We will have a new superintendent come, probably not in July, because we're just doing a search now, right?
Right. Well, it looks like, according to the timetable, that the new superintendent would be taking effect at July 26th, if everything goes according to schedule. They're in the process right now of organizing the various interviewing committees, and they're getting ready to look at the candidates that have applied. The closing date was last Friday for all candidates to apply for the position.
So the time schedule would
Continue pretty much. Yeah, the last week in May will be the interviewing, and then they'll have a second interview and possibly a third interview. But they're looking at July 26th being the start date currently.
And your last date is
July
scheduled
6th.
July 6th, so we'll be rudderless without a captain for a few
Yeah.
weeks. Will you be available at all? I know you do have a home in the area. Are you going to be around? Or?
I will be around whenever they need me. So,
Okay.
And I plan on keeping my home here, too.
Okay, that's right on the lake.
That's right on the lake.
Well, actually, probably was closer to the lake
Lake.
until the flood
Yeah.
stage went down recently. Okay. All right, we're not here to talk about all that stuff, but I do want to let people know you're a local boy, and let's talk about this year's 2007-2008 school budget.
I think that the board has done an excellent job in preparing this budget. I think they have tried to keep the tax rate as low as possible. Any of the additional assessments that came in, even after the budget was adopted, went to trying to reduce the amount of tax burden. This year, the rate, which was $22.11, is going to be going down to $20.33, which is a reduction of $1.78 per thousand. There is one thing that you and I have talked about, Calvin, as far as trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible, is that we do have a contract for excellence this year. And what that means is that we did get a significant amount of state aid above and beyond what we would normally get. Most school districts are averaging about 3% to maybe 6 or 7% of additional state aid. But we exceeded that amount of money since we were selected for the contract for excellence. And part of the requirements of that is that you can only spend 3% of the difference from the foundation aid, just that portion of the budget, for operation aid into your new budget. And everything else has to be spent on sustaining regular programs or to bring in new programs. So we had to spend a considerable amount of money in that contract for excellence, over $754,000, in order to meet the criteria of the state for when they provided it for us. I know that if you look at the increase in the budget, it comes out to about 4.9%. However, if you back out this money that was set aside for contract for excellence, it only comes out to about 1.8%. And I know that the CPI is 3.2, so I feel that the board has done an excellent job in trying to maintain a good academic budget as well as a very frugal one for our taxpayers.
If I can interrupt you
Sure.
occasionally.
Absolutely.
Tax levy is the percentage that I like to look at, and with people getting reassessed every year, whether it's the town or county or schools, they all like to look at the rate per thousand if it's beneficial to the picture. But so even though our rate per thousand has gone down, a lot of people have. I know personally, I think we received close to a 10% increase in our assessment. So automatically, and we didn't drive one nail in, that it wasn't there a year ago. Automatically, if the rate stayed the same, our taxes would have gone up 10%, but the rate per thousand has gone down, and the tax levy overall that we're all paying compared to last year, without the rate per thousand figured in,
Right.
is an increase of 2.4.
0.46%, right.
And we know this is true because Sheila Miller
Verified it for us.
verified it shortly for us, and
Yes.
so
And I know, and it's very difficult, especially when the assessments come out right around the budget time. I know, as I told you, my taxes went up $43,000. But yet,
your assessment.
my assessment, excuse me. Yeah, oh God, yes. My assessment, yes. And I guess that there's very little that as a school district we can do about that. I guess we definitely benefit by that because it brings in more revenue, but at the same time, we have no control over what the assessments will be. It's basically the properties and that sell around them, and
Well, it doesn't really bring in more revenue because the school board decides what the tax levy will be, and no matter however those assessments
Right.
are going to fit in there. So if your assessment doubled, it's not going to bring in more revenue to the school. It's just going to mean somebody else is paying less of that burden.
less of the burden, right?
Yeah.
But that's and it enables us to to refocus and look at it again.
But the actual tax levy, the amount the school is asking the local taxpayers to pay, is going up 2.46%. So that is, I would think, moderate. Now, isn't there a figure that the state says a budget can't increase by more than every year percentage? Is there such a figure?
I think what you're looking at is what is the amount that you figure out on the with the contingency. Is that basically what you're looking
Probably,
at? It's probably, yeah. It's in this case would be 3.2%.
So we're under that.
We're under that.
We're under that. So we're under the the maximum that we could under the contingency budget. Now, a contract for excellence has brought in money, and that is going to be spent according to how the state kind of dictates. You can't just
Well, what we have been doing is basically we have to take a look at where the needs are in the district. And the reason we got the contract for excellence is not a secret. It's been out there. Is that we're a city school, which is a school in need of improvement. At our the middle school is identified as a year 2 city school, and the area that we need to try to focus on is trying to reduce the number of special needs students that we have. So the board had been entertaining the idea of looking at the response to intervention, which is the RTI program. They had a presentation done on it. We had in September, we had our entire staff, there was a staff development day on that. And then after the board presentation and the board decided to go in this direction, there was a district-wide committee that was formed to take a look at it, and recognizing that we need to focus on trying to identify and work with those students at a very early age, which in most cases will be K1 and 2. So the program was put in place, and it was brought to the board even at one of the budget workshops. And with the additional amount of money that we were receiving, since we felt that this was a direction that we needed to go, the board chose to adopt that particular program. But then once we received we realized the reason we got all this money is because of the contract for excellence. We would have had to have new programs in place anyway. And so this program that we were looking at, which includes more intensive instruction at the primary grade level, fit right into the contract for excellence. I had to review every one of the changes that we made in regards to the contract for excellence with the state ed department, with Mr. McNally, to make sure that we were meeting the criteria, because we will have to have a plan to them by July 1, and our budget had already been approved after we received the contract, so we had to go through, and we were very fortunate that everything that we did do fell right in line with what the intentions of the contract for excellence were. So that's the reason why these programs are in place that we're looking at, because we did get this additional amount of funds. And it's the first time, at least since I've been here, that we've had an additional amount in order to address needs that have to be addressed in the district.
Okay, let me ask this question now. We're spending, is the total that we're spending to meet these needs is 700 and some odd thousand? Is that
That's right. It's
roughly
$754,646.
okay? The state is giving us that money this year.
Right.
Are these programs that we will have to keep in place next year, the year after, and so on? And sometimes the state helps you set something up, and then
They back out, right?
takes the funds out and says, keep doing it.
Now, this basically when we're looking at this response to intervention, we are going to try to reduce the amount of students that will be identified. And we are looking at probably a 3-year pilot program. The contract for excellence, and I talked to Regent Dawson just the other night, will be in there for at least 2 to 3 years. If the program works the way it's intended to, and from the past of what we've done pilot-wise, it seems to indicate that it will, we would be able to reduce the number of students that would be identified, therefore reducing the number of services that would be required, and eventually the program would not only be self-funding, the program itself would actually be beneficial to the district as far as saving dollars. So that's the hopes that we have.
So if things go as you hope, and there's no way of knowing that till it happens, we won't be stuck with a $700,000 burden 3 years from now.
We should not. And the thing with that $700,000 burden that you're talking about is we have no choice, because it's considered as grant aid, and the state did it that way because they did not want the school districts to put those things in place and then find out that they'd be rejected by taxpayers. So it's just like receiving aid rather than state aid.
Yeah, the money's going
grants.
directly
It's more
to
like
that-
grants.
Going directly to that
right.
program.
Right.
Okay. Continue.
Okay, if you want, I will just briefly review some of the things
I
that,
know at the budget hearing, you
Yep.
mentioned the $5,000 increase in the Board of Education funding, and although it's doubling, I don't really think that's a big thing that, 5,000 here or there.
no, because the policy manual that we're looking at is about $4,000, and
Yeah.
then maybe a few law books, so,
So a
keep our board
$5,000
members
increase on something doesn't
It's not-
really
it's not a
stick
big
out.
one.
If it was in my own personal budget at home, it would certainly stick out, but
yeah,
not here when we're talking about a $25 million budget.
right.
Central administration, the budget there is going up. Looks to be about $27,000, which would be 12% or so.
Right. But again, that's a projected because of the range for the new superintendent. It depends on who the community and the board decide upon, how much experience, because there is a very wide range. But we had to make sure that the budget could accommodate whatever salary that's arrived upon.
Well, if I were on the budget, I'd look for the young. Don't give me that.
Oh,
I'd look for the youngest guy because I want
Well-
somebody to sit in that chair is going to be here for a few years.
Exactly. Okay.
But not somebody who's going to use this as a stepping stone to another job. And
Well.
that's the problem. You get a young person, and they're looking for something else, and they come in here for 4 or 5 years. Obviously, when you came, you knew that
Are you saying I'm a young person?
no, you only stayed 4 years, and you're
Well,
retiring. So
I
yeah.
know. No, I know.
But you're roughly my age, so
Yeah.
yes, you're a young person.
Okay, that's good, that's good. No, I do agree, but I do think that, one of the considerations that, especially we got a capital project going on, we've got a lot of exciting educational programs in place. I think that, all the pieces are really in place for this district to start moving forward and to, start becoming a real first-class district as far as education goes and everything else. Because, as I said, it has nothing to do with what's taken place in the past. This is the first time that we've actually had some money so we could take a look at new programs that were really needed and trying to provide the needs.
Okay, so the $234,546 that's budgeted may or may not all be spent, depending on how they come up with the contract with the new school superintendent. Business administration, that's a big jump. That's close to $70,000 increase there, from 187,996 to 253,371.
Right. We have right now a business administrator who is with us 2 days a month, and the board felt that they needed to have an increase in that, especially with going into a capital project and a lot of the different things that are going on with the different audits that we're required to have. So they've increased the business manager's time, and it's my understanding that Bill will probably be leaving us at the end of the year, so they also put in a little extra in there in case they need, to try to look for a new business manager, hopefully a full-time business manager. And the other thing is the info software. We need to take a look at a different type of software in our business office to help us maintain our records.
Yeah.
And
As computers and everything increases, you've got to keep up.
Right, absolutely. And then the auditing services, that went up a little bit too, because for the first time this year, we had to get an internal auditor. We have an external auditor, we have an internal claims auditor, but according to the comptroller, we needed to have an internal auditor, and we'll also have to have an actuary that'll come in once every 2 years. So we had to put the money in order to provide for that. These are, again, mandates that are unfunded.
Okay. And operation and maintenance?
Yeah, we tried for the first time, again, with some of our new funds, and this would be under the stability part, to put in a furniture line, because we know that we've had some of the furniture now for many, many years, and we've never really had a replacement.
Now you're talking school desks, or you're talking
Yes,
office?
yes. No, I'm
Okay.
talking school desk, one of the, the board wanted to look at a rotation so that probably every 5 to 10 years we would be able to replace our furniture and also have, appropriate desk for our students. Some of our students are big and tall and they have to sit in small, it's just not, conducive for good learning. Also, we're looking at our maintenance man retiring next year, and the board wanted to make sure that there'd be a couple months in there for the new person that comes on board to train with that individual, because again, like everything else, the systems are very complex and we feel that we need to have adequate training. And of course, the same up on costs for electricity, fuel, and water and sewer. And the data processing, again, is for the informatic, because that's the new program and the training that we're going to have. And then again, the contract for excellence, which is the real big increase that we've talked about already, is that RTI and the reduction in class size. When I say the reduction in class size, I don't know if you remember, but last year, because of trying to maximize our students' ratios, we were going to move 10 or 15 students from Moores to Rouse's Point, and then from Rouse's Point to Moores, and the parents came to the board and requested that we would, add the 2 teachers. But again, that was after the budget. So this year we're maintaining that, and we can look at that as a class size reduction. So that helps us to meet the criteria for the contract for excellence. And we did reinstate driver's ed, and we are. And I guess when it comes to the maintenance of the particular part of the contract for excellence, we're looking at some transportation, we're looking at the textbooks, and we're also, the other thing is we tried to maintain a line item for our computers so that every 5 or 10 years, again, we could replace our computers, because we know that technology, has to be looked at every so many years. So,
Well, with all that, we're going from 6.3 million to 6.7 million. It's only, I say only, but
it's about 400,
400, which
411,000.
is percentage-wise probably about 7 to 8% increase. With all those increases, you would think it'd be bigger, but is it the increase less because of some teacher retirements, which would mean that the new teachers coming in are getting less?
No, I think it's because that's a big portion of our budget. When you're talking teaching regular school, it's a very big portion. So you're looking at about a $400,000 increase there when you look at those.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah.
it's not bigger maybe because of some retirements.
I don't think so, no, because I think those were addressed. We had 2 major retirements, and that's addressed in the, on the second page right here, it's addressed in the guidance and also in the school library, because Mr. Ledoux, who'd been with the district for a long time, retired again after the budget had gone through, so that projected savings comes into this budget rather than the last. And Mr. Patnode is going to be retiring this year, who's been our long-term middle school guidance counselor.
Well, if we jump ahead to the guidance regular, we went from 356 to 290.
Right.
That's a $66,000 drop. That's significant.
It is, but, and there's also sick leave that has to be paid out, so, we have to look at that too. There are certain retirement benefits that each of the employees get, and so those things have to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, but that was a drop. That wasn't
Right, that was a drop, and this one was a drop too.
Okay, that was the
Another
school
library
and
media
audiovisual.
specialist, right.
Yeah. And see, we skipped one of your highlighted lines here.
Okay, the occupational ed, that's the BOCES, the
CV Tech.
CV Tech program, and basically we have to project on that, the number of students. I think that this year, I think we were looking at between around 75, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a wonderful program, and part of this program is it allows the students who take it for 2 years, if they meet the school guidelines in order to participate, they can also get credit for their English, and in some cases they get credit for science. In some cases they may even get credit for Intro to Occ. So
Now, when the students go to CV Tech, are they gone half a